It's with great content and immense joy that I today am present here in Geneva at the 9th Geographical Congress ever to be held in order to enlighten you all by the thrilling expose of mine and my colleagues' journey to the nearby planet Thetis. The journey took place the 25th of March, the 6th year in our decade. This journey is very extreme and very remarkable and marks a new era for the Swedish explorers. Sweden can, as the first country in the whole world history, proudly boast about the colonization of space itself. Our travel is a shining example of sacrification and warm nationalistic love that never shall fade away. We are patriots. Strong and bright is the feeling within me of gratitude, and I am obliged to give humble regards to all the people who have contributed to this fantastic expedition. My supporter and friend, Dr. Greger Fogelström, Mr. Henrik Cederfrost, who built our space vessel, the less gifted mentally ill people from the region Dalarna in Sweden, who were the ones that physically built the space vessel, and last but not least, my dear father, who financed this brave expedition when no one else dared to do so. So, who am I? My name is Fabian Aulins, and I am a scientist. I studied in Uppsala at the Faculty of Astronomy. After I finished my exam, I have continued to do research with astonishing results in the fields of planet topography and the celeste mechanics. But I do reckon that I shall foremost be remembered as the brave pioneer, first ever to conquer the outer space. So dear ladies and gentlemen, sit back and join me on my astonishing journey out in space. The year was 1904, when I traveled to achieve some inner peace and quiet times in Dalarne, a picturesque landscape in northwest Svealand in the middle of Sweden, where the evening light is the utterly and foremost beautiful, where a stream bubbling with the water of early spring makes its own subtle music, and where the forest broods in all kinds of dark secrets of Mother Nature. Out of old research habit, I assembled my astrological equipment that I had brought with me to the deep woods. But never in my wildest fantasy could I imagine what I was to encounter through my telescope. What kind of cosmic body was out there, seemingly within our atmosphere? What on earth was I looking at? After weeks of measuring and taking part of scientific literature, I came to the conclusion that the cosmic body seemed to comprise a magnetic field that enabled it to keep a balance between itself and our planet Earth by having its own autonomous circular path. My telescope could confirm what this was about, that this cosmic body actually was a planet. Through my lens, I could see strange signs of life, as well as mystical mountain formations and water assemblies. This planet was relatively close to our planet, and the measurements I performed show me that the altitude was approximately 10 kilometers up in our atmosphere. Confused as I was by what had brought this cosmic thing to us, I identified this as a parasite planet. Let me show my calculations on the parasite planet. After having established my conclusions, I contacted the above-mentioned persons, Dr. Greger Fogelström, educated in Uppsala in the fields of paleontology, geology, botany, and a certain knowledge in cartography, and Mr. Henrik Sedelfrost, a well-known constructor who previously had worked with constructing ships, submarines, and all kinds of prototypes of flying vessels. During the spring 1904, we worked insistent to get all the preparations to realize the space trip to the parasite planet. We documented our research, made sure that the drafts and all the construction drawings of the vessel that was supposed to take us up to space, the so-called Cosmobile, were made ready. During the autumn, the construction began. In the construction work, we collaborated with a mental hospital, and the local less gifted people became our labor force. Now I will show a picture of the labor force and the construction site. The 25th of March at 1:15 p.m. we went aboard the Cosmobile and got the engines running. The vessel trembled and we began the trip up through the atmosphere in northbound straight up. After 10 hours we arrived and Henrik landed the Cosmobile elegantly at a patch of land outside what appeared to be a small city. I proudly inserted my native country flag in the space soil. We were all dressed in homemade down jackets to keep warm, but it wasn't as cold as we had expected. Not a cloud inside. We walked around and recorded space sounds with our phonograph, what we had brought with us, and Greger began to sketch the scenario that lay before our eyes. A scenario which will follow me as long as I shall live. The rusty red plains that were integrated with the light blue lakes and the crates that split the landscapes in sharp formations. It was so incredibly beautiful, my dear friends. My dear friends, let us look at Greger's sketches and listen to the meditative sounds of space. We also brought soil samples and other tests from the planet for future investigations. In the back of this auditorium, you can see a selection of these samples, including one of its inhabitants in formalin. We spent 2 days in space before it was time to return. We came back with a lot of samples of all kinds and a huge amount of documentation. And well, back home in Uggelbo, it was time to start working with the research. Greger had made a map of the planet, nowadays known as the planet Titus, to its size comparable with the little beautiful island Öland in the Baltic Sea. After having returned home, I found peace in my mind to gather thoughts and sort out my conclusions. The planet's mass seemed to consist of a ferromagnetic material, and it's being surrounded by a protective cover which protects it against the radiation in space and changes in temperature. Its atmosphere seemed to be very compact and not as sensitive as the atmosphere of the Earth, since it's able to maintain different positions in space. In conclusion, the earthly atmosphere agrees well with the atmosphere the planet Titus needs in order to survive. The planet has a protective cover, can capture air and water, as well as remove unwelcome substances, for example helium. The protective cover attracts oxygen and nitrogen and keeps it within the cover. It is highly likely that the planet Titus has absorbed part of earthly atmosphere and now keeps it within its protective cover. Let me show it how it looks. However, I now have the sad news to tell you in this auditorium that the planet Titus that you all now have become acquaintance with during this exciting speech has traveled on to parasite on another cosmic planet, where I cannot say, but I thank my lucky star for being the first human to ever have set foot in space soil. Thank you very much for your attention, and you are all more than welcome to pose questions.